Since the early 19th century, when industry became the new American religion, hundreds of thousands of immigrants from Central and Eastern Europe set sail for America, chasing dreams of a better life, free from poverty and war. New York was the most important gateway to this brave new world. For the next 200 years, the wave of migration never ceased. If you could make it in New York, you could make it anywhere. Join us as we explore the stories of Polish immigrants who shaped the city and found their place in its ever-evolving landscape. Watch the Polish Tales.
My name is Julia Przybos, because that's how they call me in New York and in America, which is spelled P-R-Z-Y-B-O-S. That's how I say that my name is, because nobody will understand what Przybos is. So that's my name. And I'm actually very proud of this P-R-Z-Y-B-O-S. I came to New York because I got a postdoctoral fellowship. I finished my PhD in French literature at Yale, and I got a postdoctoral fellowship. And I fell in love with New York because New Haven is a small town where you know only students. It's a perfect ivory tower, and New York was completely wild. And I was finally out of the ivory tower. I couldn't find an apartment. That was very wild, because there was a newspaper strike, and you couldn't go and find an apartment the usual way by looking at the advertisements in the newspaper. So I got an apartment because a friend of mine just learned that the a new graduate student in the building committed suicide, that the apartment was free. That's how I got an apartment in New York, which you would agree is a happy, unhappy event. My social life was very much anchored in the Polish immigrant circles, but also other friends who lived around Columbia University. And there was a very lively social life. We met at different parties, and it was fantastic. It was really the whiff of freedom, and I was a young and very lucky-go-lucky person. I never felt like an immigrant in the United States. I always felt like myself. Because unlike other people, I could go back to Poland. I was not a 1968 March immigrant. I could go back and visit my mother, who was still living in Poland. So I didn't have the immigrant syndrome. But I knew at one point, when the Polish authority decided that they are not going to renew my passport and that I have to come back within 2 weeks to Poland, that I never want to go back. That much I knew, that I wanted to be a free person and live my own life. But I didn't have the immigrant syndrome of any kind of longing for. I had some longing for people that I knew and loved, and for certain landscapes, but I didn't have the concept of longing for motherland. I didn't have much of that. because I was living within the very much Polish culture, and that was the language and the Polish culture was my motherland. The fact that I was the daughter of a well-known writer and poet was a reason I didn't want to be in Poland, because I would not be able to say that whatever I accomplished in Poland was due to the fact that I was a daughter and I was privileged. Therefore, I got the job that maybe that I shouldn't have gotten. And the fact that I was in America, that I got a scholarship to Yale because of my merit and because I got a job, because I was interviewed, all that was due to my own doing and to my own, and not to the fact that I was a daughter of a poet of whom nobody ever heard in America. That was such a liberation. I was from Eastern Europe, so I was very well educated in history, in philosophy, in everything except literature. Because the literary studies at the University of Warsaw were very traditional, literary history. So I knew everything, but I didn't know how to read literary texts. And that I learned only when I started PhD in French literature at Yale. And very soon I realized that students were absolutely free to choose whatever they wanted, because the department was phenomenal. And I decided to write a PhD on melodrama, which everybody looked at me as if I were a half-wit. Melodrama, which is a popular theater that was born at the beginning of 19th century in France. I wrote this book. It was published in 1987, and it's still being quoted as a classic to study not only melodrama, but because it proposes a model how ideology is being infused in a very tricky ways into westerns, serials, thrillers. It's a very useful tool to analyze popular culture. So in a way, I was ahead of times, whereas the construction is dead today, is completely dead. And so I still see that people are quoting this book as the foundation of study of popular culture. Yes, the love of my life was Claude. Yes, Claudius, whom I met when we were teenagers. We were teenagers back in Warsaw, and we disliked profoundly each other. He always, but very arrogant person. And we met by chance when I was free in New York and decided to be happy when I had this scholarship. I was working on Soviet melodrama in the library, in the New York Public Library, and we met at a party. And he got interested in me. I didn't pay any attention. I didn't know that he was really courting me. This is so silly, but I will tell you how I finally realized that Claude was interested in me. Because we went to visit the newborn baby of Irena and Jaś Gross in New Haven. And we were driving back, and Claude drove me to see friends, to the friends with whom I was staying. It was 11 o'clock at night, and we were sitting in the car, and Claude, looking straight through the window shield, said, "Would you like to have a glass of vodka with me right now?" And I panicked completely, because me and vodka, no, it was obviously there was something going on. Okay, so that's how I realized. But it took another few weeks till I decided, okay, I will try and see what happens. My latest book is the fruit of COVID. of COVID and my retiring from teaching and scholarship. They are vignettes from my life. They are stories, short stories about people I met, I knew, events I took part in, and adventures I had, or I provoked. Sometimes I provoked events because I like doing it. It's called, the title in Polish is Przepierki, which is an allusion to the saying that you never wash dirty laundry in public. The thing I'm most proud of is, first of all, I think that the work I did all my life is about making literature more accessible to readers. I think this is the role of a literary professor. But so my books, my essays are about how I read literature in a context of society. But what I'm most proud of is this little book. It's called Un sceptique, s'il vous plaît. It's a collection of short stories I came across in the library about pure chance. The best is that you meet so many different people, that when you're alone, when you're lonely, you can go out and talk to people. The worst is the poverty, that when you just move out of your circle and you go a few blocks away, you just see extraordinary, terrible poverty. I work in a church with the migrants, sorting clothes for migrants. And on the first floor, there's a food bank for people who could come and pick up what they need. And the line to this food bank is long. And people who come there are of all ages, slim and fat, women with children, pregnant women, old men, old women, and they come to get onions, potatoes, bread. I never saw any eggs being distributed. And they stand in line to get it. To me, it's heartbreaking. That's the worst in New York.